Okay, and we are rolling. Okay, we're rolling. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope that you are having an awesome day. I thought I would make a quick little video about basically where to start if you want to learn a bit about personal finance. It can be very overwhelming when you're first intending to learn about personal finance. So I thought I would put together a list of the resources that I used to build a base so that I felt comfortable investing. None of these creators I know in person, none of these authors I know, none of the things that I'm going to recommend are sponsored in any way. I am just disseminating useful information in hopes that it could help other young adults or anybody who wants to learn about personal finance. So with that being said, let's get right into it. So the first resource that I would recommend is an app called My Wall Street. This app explains the absolute basics of investing, how to get started. It gives you a foundation of all the vocabulary that you would need to move on in your personal finance journey. It will explain topics like what stocks are, what the stock market is, what dividends are, what a brokerage is, what a balance sheet is. Just give you all the basic vocabulary. The lessons are super easy to understand. You can literally read them in bed before your sleep or something. They are very short and written very, very well. All of these steps, by the way, I would recommend to do simultaneously or in order. It's totally up to you. But the next thing that I'm going to recommend is to start reading finance books. Thankfully, there are finance books for all different levels, and the very first one that many people recommend in the personal finance space is Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, which teaches the difference between assets and liabilities, as well as kind of how cash flow works. It's a very good foundational book. It's a little bit frou-frou at times, if I do say so myself, but I think that it is good to have some books that are like that just to get you in the mindset of saving up and investing. The second book that I recommend to build up your basic personal finance knowledge is I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. This is a good book because it talks about the basic steps of how to get out of debt, how to manage your credit cards, your automatic investments. It basically is a guide on everything that you should do to automate the process as much as possible. It also gives some handy and creative tips about how to negotiate for better terms at banks, which I find pretty cool, and it's written very humorously as well. The next book is called Cash Flow Quadrant, also by Robert Kiyosaki. This book will kind of get you in the entrepreneurial mindset, and if you are somebody who has ever thought about wanting to be self-employed or a business owner or an investor eventually, this book lays out a good kind of path about how to go from being an employee to eventually working for yourself and becoming an investor, or maybe even skipping steps along the way if that's what you want to do. But I like this book because it talks about the different types of income, and like I said, it lays out the path very clearly. It's a really cool way of looking at how different people make money. The next book on the list for this foundational reading curriculum is Simple Path to Wealth by Jim Collins. This book started off as a blog that Jim Collins was running for his daughter to pass on financial education knowledge to her, and he condensed it all in this little book. It's also a very easy read, just like the other books on this list, and it's one that is also recommended very popularly in the personal finance space. It's particularly relevant for Americans because it talks about American accounts, but 90% of the information in the book is just as transferable to Canadians and probably to other countries as well that have similar investment accounts and systems. The third step in the personal finance journey, which again can be done concurrently with all of the other steps, is to start learning technical concepts. I find that learning technical concepts is easiest through video, so I'm going to recommend some creators that really helped to build my foundational base. But the two big things that I think are worth first learning about would be the tax system in your country, as well as the different types of investment accounts that are available in your country. So the YouTube channels that I recommend would be first and foremost Rose Han. I really like her. She has awesome videos, especially her earlier videos focus a bit more on the technical concepts and she breaks them down very simply. She's also just, oh, got an email. She's also just very inspiring. I appreciate that she is a business owner and the way that she built up her YouTube channel and her business is really cool. It's been cool to see it over the years. The next channel is Dave Ramsey. I think, the Dave Ramsey Show and all of his kind of related channels, which are run by other co-hosts. I like Dave Ramsey's channels because he also breaks things down in a very black and white kind of matter. He also gives advice to a lot of people, so you can kind of hear how different people have different financial scenarios and the advice that he gives them. And some of his co-hosts also run very tangible, easy to understand videos, which will explain some technical concepts. The next couple of channels I don't watch as often as the first two, but I still think that they're great resources. And that would be Nisha, as well as Humphrey Yang. I like how these creators explain things clearly. They also have very good production value. Their videos are quite entertaining to watch and easy to listen to. Especially shout out to Humphrey Yang's editing style. I think he has a really cool range of different editing in his videos and it just makes it, like I said, even more entertaining to watch. A couple of channels that are Canadian specific that I will mention will be Steph and Den, who go into really good detail about all of the different types of accounts and also how they manage their personal finances, as well as Beavis Wealth, who also gives a bit of a different perspective on the different accounts in Canada. Learning about the Canadian accounts is what I primarily use these channels for, but certainly they have different topics on their channels as well that you could find useful. And finally, this last channel is a little bit more for entertainment. When I was first learning about personal finance, admittedly, for entertainment purposes, I was binging a little bit on Caleb Hammer's podcasts. His videos primarily focus on him just grilling people that come to his show with personal finance problems. And he kind of explains to them why they're in the situation that they're in. Sometimes, especially at the beginning of your personal finance journey, it's kind of helpful to just understand how serious certain financial mistakes can be so that you know to never make those kinds of mistakes, or at least avoid them at all costs. By the end of your introduction to personal finance, if you live in Canada, you should be familiar with the FHSA, the RRSP, the TFSA, and the RESP. And if you're curious, I also have a series of videos about those accounts that I made when I was living in Canada. And if you live in the US, you should be familiar with the 401k, the 403b, the 457b, as well as the HSA, the IRA, and what the difference between Roth and traditional accounts is. Finally, the last step is to implement what you've learned and to take action. You learn more in 3 hours of doing something than in 3 days of reading about it. So if you live in Canada, the brokerage that I was using is Wealthsimple. You could do your own research and figure out what brokerage you like to use. I personally was using Wealthsimple because it was just very easy to use. They also have commission-free trading. So it's considered quite a good choice in Canada. And if you are in the States, I personally use Fidelity. There are plenty other brokerages that you can use, but Fidelity was the one that my employer set up. So that's the one that I stuck with. Open up your accounts, put some money into them, and start buying up stocks and ETFs and any other kind of assets that you want to purchase. That concludes today's video. I hope that you found it insightful. I hope that it's helpful and you feel some sense of relief about where to start in your personal finance journey. If you enjoyed it, feel free to drop a like, consider subscribing, and I would love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. If you have any other resources to share with our community, please do. Would love to hear more about personal finance and what you're doing to improve your personal finance journey. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.